this Democrat tack away from their closures and their lockdowns that they supported is enough to make a cynical guy like me say, maybe there's some internal polls that are showing this, in which case this would really be a delayed effect against the lockdowns, maybe after the science has trickled in.
Welcome to the Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by senior political columnist Tim Carney. Tim, we've seen some liberal figures and some public health figures who are really the face of the COVID shutdowns, in particular the school closures, distancing themselves from some of these policies. What do we make of that?
Yeah, I mean, just in April, you've had a big New York Times profile. Anthony Fauci said, well, yeah, some of the school closures went too far. You certainly can't blame me for it. You had Randy Weingarten of the teachers union going and saying, well, we were for opening schools. Right. And you had Justin Trudeau in Canada talking about the closures going too far. And the thing is, all of these people were attacking the reopeners in the summer of 2020. Remember the DNC was running ads against against Donald Trump for calling for the schools to be open. So
these were grandma killers.
Grandma killers.
Right.
So these liberals are now taking the grandma killer position, which shows that they've understood that it was a massive mistake, the policies they recommended, pushed, implemented, lobbied for back in 2020, especially keeping the schools closed in fall 2020, even into spring 2021. So that shows, again, a big shift in what they've understood about the science, but I think it also probably has political ramifications, but those are complicated.
Right, you mentioned the political ramifications. Republicans ran on these issues in the midterm elections with mixed success at best. It's going to be a very big part of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign, should he get in. All indications are that he will, and it would be a pretty big distinction he could draw with former President Donald Trump that could be favorable to him.
Yep.
Is there given the fact that you're seeing a lot of liberals running away from this, that would seem to think that they think this is a losing issue, but we don't have a strong bit of data that
look
shows
back
it is.
at 2022, we could say, okay, well, maybe Glenn Youngkin won the governor's race in Virginia in part because Democrats closed the schools and never apologized for it. Mm-hmm. But then in 2022, it was not like a wave of victory for the reopeners against the lockdowners. I mean, the Democrats in Michigan, that was probably their best state. And Gretchen Whitmer was one of the most notorious lockdowners. She barred you from going to the gardening aisle in Home Depot as part of her lockdown. So there certainly was not in 2022 what someone like me as a school parent would have wanted, which was just a total wipeout of the lockdowners. So this Democrat tack away from their closures and their lockdowns that they supported is enough to make a cynical guy like me say, maybe there's some internal polls that are showing this, in which case this would really be a delayed effect against the lockdowns, maybe after the science has trickled in. And some people point out the Iraq war, it had some effect in 2006, but then it changed the Republican Party, arguably in 2016, when Trump came and took it over. So sometimes these huge moments have a delayed effect. Ron DeSantis could be the most interesting one of that, where he says, I opened up soon. I opened up sooner than Trump wanted me to. Mm-hmm. And so the Republican primary could be the first real battleground of that.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible that the Democrats distancing themselves from this and not defending it anymore has sort of blunted Republican attacks on the issue?
It could certainly do that. And so the Democrats could end up getting away with the closures because for whatever reason it didn't work in 2022, and by 2024 they'll say, hey, we all agree the school closures were horrible and remote learning didn't work. Mm-hmm. So it could be a missed opportunity, or it could just be that the COVID lockdowns, the fear, the deaths from the virus, the deaths from the lockdowns were so kind of ugly that there was no single political agreement on what this was among the voters.
I mean, one theory in the Youngkin race was that it was the COVID school closures that led to the scrutiny of all of the other things that became issues in that race, transgenderism in schools, teaching of critical race theory in schools, and that if the schools had been open, maybe parents would have paid as much attention.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the idea of U.S. public schools that move to a school district and then let things go into autopilot is certainly an idea that a lot of parents held and that they stopped being able to hold starting in the summer of 2020.
Thank you, Tim. You can read Tim and the rest of our commentary team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.